Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about the commonly heard phrase that ex-Mormons can leave the church, but we can't leave it alone. And I want to talk about what I think about it. So to start off with, I, for a long time, kind of wanted to prove that phrase wrong. I kind of wanted to leave the church alone and just show through my actions that that phrase was wrong. But the trouble is, nobody really cares if an ex-Mormon leaves the church alone. Nobody uses that as a counterexample because nobody notices. And so I realized that that was kind of futile on my part and wasn't really helping anything. And I also came to think differently about what it means to leave the church alone. Because I think in the minds of some members of the church, just telling anybody at all about why you left the church would be considered not leaving the church alone. Even though your leaving the church has a lot more to do with you personally than it does with the church per se, depending on the story. And so I feel like when not leaving the church alone refers to just telling your story about why you left the church, especially when it's telling the story in private to a particular person, I don't really feel like that's at all the same as, say, going to a church building and trying to disrupt the services there, for example. And that's kind of how I feel about leaving the church alone in different contexts. You know, there are things that I wouldn't do, like I wouldn't disrupt services at a church, because in my mind, I don't want to disrupt people who might genuinely be happy in what they're doing. But second of all, I also don't want to contribute to a persecution complex that members of the church are feeling for no reason. And so I just don't see the need to go into their space and disrupt things. However, in an open space, in a neutral space, in a space that has nothing to do with the church unless you make it have something to do with the church, or in an ex-Mormon space, I feel like it's completely appropriate to share why I left the church and how I feel about the church. And I don't feel like that's at all the same as going into their space and disrupting it. So there are still boundaries that I have when it comes to talking about the church and interacting with the church. But I'm also going to talk about how I feel about the church in certain contexts, like in this YouTube channel, because I feel like that's something that I get to do as someone who has my own personal experiences. And like I said, maybe those experiences say more about me than about the church, but they are my experiences and they are the way I interpret the world. And so I don't feel like making this YouTube channel is not leaving the church alone in the same way as going into a church and disrupting it would be. But I can see why people would be frustrated by it, but I'm just going to do what I think is the best thing to do. And if it happens to be not leaving the church alone, then so be it. I have decided that it makes sense for me to talk about my story here. Anyway, this was just a quick video about my thoughts about that particular phrase. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and watching my other videos. Thanks. Bye.